thank you very much for joining today. This is the next in our NetSuite versus Business Central comparison series. Over the last few months, we've done a look at a chart of accounts, streamlining transaction processing, and today we're going to be diving into an inventory management overview of both systems. So thanks for joining. So this is how the webinar is going to look. We're going to fly through a quick introduction and a little intro to us at Nolan Business Solutions for anyone on the call that isn't familiar with us. We're going to do a quick overview of both Business Central and NetSuite, and then we're going to tackle the main topic of the inventory management. And then we're going to close off with how to get started with your migration. If you have any questions throughout, please just enter them into the chat. We'll try to answer them as we go. And if there's any left over, we'll come back to you directly. So who's on the call from our side? So we've got Mark Hennessy. Mark's our Managing Director at Nolan. We've got Jason Zimmer. Jason's our GP Account Manager. We've got Gary Hawksford. Gary's our Cloud Migration Specialist. And myself, Adam, I'm the Marketing Manager. So a brief introduction to us at Nolan. So we're the UK's only NetSuite and Business Central partner. So we feel we're in a position to give impartial, insightful insights into both systems. We were founded in 1988, so we're a trusted ERP advisor. The last 17 years of which we've been migrating businesses from on-premise systems, so GP and other systems, to cloud-based ERP. We're an ISV, so we do solutions for NetSuite, Business Central, and more previously, Dynamics GP. We've got over 1,300 active customers worldwide. We've got a lot of qualified technical resource throughout the teams at Nolan. Those teams being support, development, consultancy, project management, training, so the full ERP set. And we're also Great Place to Work certified, and for last year we qualified for the best workplaces for development, for women, and for tech. So that's a little bit about us. And now we're going to do a brief look at the overview of NetSuite Business Central, and that will be with Mark.
Thanks, Adam. So, so Adam says we're only partner attempting to do both ERP systems. So, hopefully give an impartial view on both there. So, we've got this series of webinars going on looking at both systems. So, I want to go to the next slide. Just a couple of minutes on just top level overview of the two, really. So, with Business Central is obviously the kind of Microsoft advantage. Pretty much every business in the world is a Microsoft customer. The Copilot AI being part of Microsoft strategy going forward is very prevalent within Business Central. We're pushing very hard on AI. Office 365 integration is second to none, as you'd expect from a Microsoft product. They really works incredibly well with Teams, with Excel, with Word, etc. Typically, people find it very user friendly. It's a familiar interface being Microsoft, and I think the standard level of functionality in Business Central isn't as wide as with NetSuite, but that does come at a significantly lower total cost of ownership. So that's the sort of compromise there, really. So it certainly is cheaper than NetSuite. Okay. NetSuite is obviously an Oracle product. Oracle talk a lot about the power of the suite. So not out the box, NetSuite has a sort of wider breadth of functionality with CRM included as a core sort of module. Obviously, it is available for Microsoft, but it's not as an extensive CRM in the core product as there is with NetSuite. You can buy in the Microsoft CRM on top. One of NetSuite's key modules is the One World module, and that's the multi-entity consolidation across the suite. So not only from a financial reporting perspective, but also from reporting across CRM, from AR, aging report, AP aging, across the whole platform. That multi-entity management is really strong. NetSuite Suite Success approach, so they ship kind of pre-built NetSuite accounts per industry, so you get a bit of a head start with implementation. I think the embedded analytics and reporting tools within NetSuite are really strong. There's 4 or 5 different reporting tools just core to the product. It's one of the key differentiators as well, I think. Okay.
Excellent. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to take a look at both the products now. But before we do, just going to dive into cover what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to look a little bit at how both Business Central and NetSuite are configured to handle the various different inventory processes, so purchase ordering, sales ordering, returns, etc. We'll also look at the tools that are available within the systems that can facilitate the various different warehouse activities, so putting away picks, stock counts, etc. And then a quick mention that both systems also have the functionality to handle assembly and production manufacturing, but they're not areas that we're going to dive into today. We can provide more information on that. If you get in touch, we may do a webinar on those at a later date. So let's go in and take a look first of all at Business Central. Okay, so you're seeing now the main Business Central welcome screen. I'm going to just quickly give you a very quick overview in terms of this product. It's multiple companies set up within the product. At the moment, I'm in my warehouse and manufacturing demo system here. I'm signed in as an inventory manager, so everything that you're seeing on the screen is relevant to my role and responsibilities. Like many Microsoft products, it's got a menu bar which runs across the top of it. So when I click on sales and purchasing, I can access my customers and sales orders, my vendors and my purchase orders, and the reference data. I can access things like items, locations, bin contents, etc. My main dashboard has got actions that I might need to do within my day-to-day job. I've got in the middle a range of shortcuts to areas within the system that I'll need to access on a regular basis. And I also have reports that I would like to run regularly as well. Beneath that, there's a series of different tiles which can give me quick access to activities that are going on that are relevant to my role, and also tasks, approvals, those sort of things that I need. And then down the bottom, I can represent data graphically, either from within the system, as you can see the chart on the left-hand side, or I can embed Power BI into Microsoft Business Central as well and see further details there. But let's take a look at an item record in a second. Sorry, just before I do, I forgot to add, obviously the license subscription you're using at the moment is an Essentials license, but I can also add in Teams licenses with limited functionality, or indeed I can also share information from Business Central directly through Microsoft Teams, which just helps you really lower the cost of investment of your subscription licenses as well, which is a great feature and one of the strengths of Business Central. So we'll look at the item setup here, first of all. So to do this, I can either access my items through the menu bar at the top that I mentioned earlier, but there's also a search function within the system. So if I look for a product, if I spell it correctly, that is Athens, I'm going to look within my company data, and I can see that I've got two products with Athens in the description there. I'm not going to dive into one of those just yet, but I'm going to use my search button. This time I'm going to type the word flat pack. Search the company data, and you'll see it's actually brought one of the same items back, but this particular one has the word flat pack in its second description as well. We'll see how that can benefit in a second. But let's open up this item. So this is the main item record. As before on the main menu page, I've got a menu bar that runs across the top. I've also got a fact box bar on the right-hand side, so if I access that by clicking on the information icon, this contains various things, pictures, attributes, but it's also got quite a handy forecast tool here. So I'm looking at my forecast inventory levels over the next sort of 4 or 5 months, and I can toggle this screen as well to show my sales forecast over that same period of time, which is a good feature within the software. I'm seeing a number of different records down here, all categorized into different areas. So within my item, as I say, I've got this description. If I show more options within that area, I've got that second description, which I also searched on. The other thing that I'll point out here is the base unit of measure. So generally, when I look at this product, I like to see it in pieces, not literally, but by the piece. But as I show you through the product throughout, you'll be able to see that I've got this set up in different ways for storage, for sales, for purchasing, by the pallet, by the box, etc. And Business Central allows you to do that. Within inventory section, I can see what inventory I've got, what I've got on purchase order, what I've got on sales order. If I access the button to the side, I can also see that stock via locations that I've got. Within my costing and posting area, I've got various different costing methods available for me. So this particular product is set up with FIFO. I can also do LIFO, I can do average costs, standard costs, specific costs. So there's a number of options available to you there. One of the other things that I point out here is I can specify purchase prices and discounts. And again, if I scroll down the item card and look at the sales area, I can also see that I've got this option here. So between those, I can set up prices either for all of my customers or vendors. I can set them up for groups of customers or vendors, or I can set them up for individual customers or vendors. Those prices as well can be based on discounts or specific pricing. And then within there, I can vary that price dependent on the unit of measure that I'm buying, by the pallet, by the box, etc., the quantities that I'm buying, or the dates in which I'm buying or selling those products as well. The other thing that I'll point out is a service commitment option. So if you sell products that you want to associate a service plan with, then I've got the option to either add those automatically to sales orders or as an option later on as well. Within the replenishment section, I dictate how I replenish this stock. So this particular one, I buy the stock in, I purchase it. I tend to by default purchase it from vendor number 3000, and I tend to buy it by the pallet, again, referring back to that unit of measurement that I saw earlier. I can also change that I replenish via production or assembly. Within my planning, I can dictate how I look to replenish this and how I look to generate my purchase orders. So this particular one I've got set up as a lot for lot. Lot for lot will basically look at the demand of the product, look at the requirements for that, and suggest purchase orders based on the demand that there is for the product. But I can also build into that things like safety leads times and quantities. I can build reorder points in there and add in modifiers like minimum order quantities, maximum order quantities, order multiples, etc. That can help me make my purchasing decisions. Further down, I can see that I've also got serial number and lot tracking, so I can trace everything from the moment that it enters the warehouse till the time that I've dispatched it, and that can also handle expiry dates. And finally, on the item card down the bottom, I've got a section for my warehousing default. So this will dictate where and how I store this within my business. Again, I'll refer to the unit of measure code there, how default I stock this. Is it by the box or by the pallet? And also I've got various different options for setting up perpetual stock taking as well. So that's the item card. Let's take a look at the locations. So again, I'm going to use my search icon at the top and quickly look at locations. So you can see I've got a number of different locations set up within here. I'll take a look at my main primary warehouse. Again, this warehouse record card has a number of different options down here for how I want to receipt and ship and what documentation I want to produce when doing so. I also have options for how I've set up bins and those bin policies as well for how I use those bins within the warehouse. This particular one I've set up with advanced warehousing, so I've got zones built in. If I take a look at the zones, you can see here I've got a number of different categories of storage. So I've got cold storage, bulk storage, I've got my pick locations, as well as locations set up for receipting and shipping stock to my customers. Within these zones as well, I've got bins set up. So when I go into the bins here, I can see I've got some codes set up which dictate the bay number, the column within that bay, and also the shelf number. So bay 1, column 1, shelf 1, so on. I can also apply a bin ranking to these bins as well, so that can dictate the route which I take when I'm picking within this particular zone as well. So that's how I can set up the warehouse with the various different functions within Business Central. I can also, going back to my item card, assign bin locations to this particular item here. So within Related, if I go down to my warehouse settings, look at bin contents, I can see this particular item is associated with bin number 010102. By default, I can also have that as a fixed bin or a dedicated bin as well. Before I hand over to Mark, who's going to talk about NetSuite, I just want to talk very briefly about order planning. So we looked on the item card earlier, and we looked at how we replenish it, and we looked at the planning options that we've got within here. If I go now to my order planning sheet, and I can see how that comes together. So my order planning sheet, as I've brought this up, it's just looking at the demand that I've got within the business and what I need to buy. I can filter this to look for demand from certain suppliers or different product categories, etc. But once, and I can go in and I can change the suppliers, the quantities that I need, and override the suggestions that the system makes. But once I'm happy with that, I can click on Make Orders. It will go through then and not only create the purchase orders, but if I'm manufacturing, it can create the manufacturing orders, the transfer orders from warehouse to warehouse, and also assembly orders as well. I think that's a quick 10-minute overview of the system. Obviously, there's more to find out on there. If you ever need any more information, then get in touch. But at this point, I'm going to hand over to Mark, who's going to take you through what NetSuite does within inventory.
Thank you, Gary. It looks great. So yeah, so as Gary was saying, really, it kind of breaks down to different areas of inventory management. It's a big topic, and it's a lot to try and cover off in this sort of fairly short webinar. But really, it's inventory management, warehouse management, supply chain, and purchase management, which make up the whole thing around inventory. So I'm going to look at the top three of those. Purchase, maybe we'll do in a subsequent webinar, but. So this is NetSuite. Typical sort of NetSuite dashboard here. I'm logged in as Nick Jackson, who is an inventory manager. And NetSuite is very dashboard driven. So the information coming through here is relating to his role as that inventory manager. So we've got 26 orders need to be fulfilled, 37 orders that are coming in to be receipted, 4 transfer orders need to be shipped, and so on and so on. And some shortcuts to just key areas of the system we need to get to quickly. And then KPIs that he's tracking, number of orders that we're processing this month versus last, and the value of inventory that we're holding in stock, which, as we can see here, is starting to increase. So maybe that's desirable, maybe it's not. People typically want to hold as little inventory as possible. But so these dashboards are not just about reporting; they are about actionable data being pulled through, because each of these links that are in blue are actually a hyperlink, and you drill through to the underlying transactions beneath. So talking about inventory management, really, so we're here to sort of optimize the use of inventory, reduce handling costs, therefore optimizing cash flow, and really making sure that we are getting products out to customers when and where they want them. With NetSuite, because of the One World module and the ability to manage multiple locations and subsidiaries, you can manage that inventory in one system and see it all. So that helps to refine how we're delivering. We can optimize inventory levels, minimize stockouts. There's demand-based planning in there, which looks at historical demand, sales forecasts as well, because remember, we've got the CRM and any sort of seasonality that we've seen in the past around items. And then hopefully, that boosts profitability. We can manage inventory more efficiently. We can see the company-wide inventory situation. So we know we've got 100 of an item in London, but we need some in Manchester. We can move them rather than buying more for Manchester. So. And therefore, obviously, reducing shipping costs as well. We decrease the cost of goods sold by minimising movements around the warehouse, minimise discounts and write-offs if we've got slow-moving stock that's sort of hanging around that we're not keeping a track of. Let's not buy more of that. Let's get that in front of the sales team and get them to sell it. And like I say, having a CRM increases those opportunities for better customer service and sales opportunities, because they can see what's there in all locations, so they know what they've got to sell. We've also got support cases and return management within NetSuite. So, and that integrates with inventory as well. So if things are coming back, we can put them back into stock and look at warranties and manage that customer experience with these support cases. Intercompany transfer orders, moving inventory between subsidiaries is simple. It follows the same kind of shipping and receipting process at both ends, so we know what's in transit and so on. And obviously we will need a good stock valuation report at month end. So with that real-time visibility across all the inventory, that becomes really easy. So similar to what Gary said, really with Business Central, the demand-based inventory replenishment is there, reorder points, preferred stock levels, average lead time, and based on historical seasonal sales demand. We can run processes around that to help NetSuite intelligently suggest what purchasing we need to be doing. The visibility for locations I've covered already. There's landed costs, so accurately allocating costs according to weight, to value, or quantity when we're booking stock in. So the cost isn't always just the purchase price, is it? There's additional costs as well that come in when the stock is landed. NetSuite supports serialized inventory, lot management, and bin management in a similar way to BCs. I think there's some similarities there. I think in general, it's fair to say that sort of inventory management is pretty strong in both systems. It's pretty much core functionality for both. Barcodes, item labels, transaction numbers and sales, or picking slips, that sort of thing is all possible from within NetSuite. Then the inventory counts and cycle counting. So rather than having to close down the warehouse and do a full stock count, you can just do individual items as you go via the handheld devices. And let's talk a bit more about that in just a second. Returns authorizations, warranty claims. So if anything's coming back, we can verify it's actually under warranty before we're processing any refunds or replacements on those items. And NetSuite adds this concept of pick, pack, and ship. So you can break your order fulfillment process down to 3 stages of fulfillment. So you pick it, you pack it, and ship it. And there might be different people doing those different steps. So if you're a particularly big warehouse with high volumes, you can enable that feature and use those 3 different phases. You don't have to, but if you want to do that, you can. We've got matrix items. So if you've got typically for sort of apparel companies, so items with size and color combinations, we end up with huge numbers of individual items. You can manage them in a matrix. Just makes it much easier to work with them. And I'll show you the item 360 dashboard in just a second. I'm looking at an item and KPIs associated with that one particular item there. So it says a look at an item record, and I just sort of pulled down looking at the sales margin element here, which I thought was interesting. So looking at this particular curved monitor, we've got 562 on hand. We've got 11 on sales order, 28 more coming on PO, and this is what we were sold by month. And interestingly, this is what average what we're paying for them and average what we're selling them, and this is across all subsidiaries here. So this item is set as UK parent company, but by ticket include children, we can actually sell it across all 3 subsidiaries that we've got enabled in this NetSuite account. So we can see what the average sales price and average margin across the whole of NetSuite. So when your sales team are selling it, that's if they're setting pricing, that's a really useful piece of information. This is a supply chain snapshot, so we can see across those locations and companies what we've got in stock in each area, which is obviously useful. And then we've got the item 360 here. So this is, again, drilling into this same item, this curved monitor. I'm looking at all subsidiaries and all locations, and we can see that we've got 2 sales orders here that are past due. They're 20 days old. So we can click through those hyperlinks and look at those sales orders, look at any notes on them, what's going on, why are they due? We've got inventory, we know that. Let's get them out the door. And then we've got some late purchase orders here we can drill into. So this is NetSuite intelligently looking at this item and feeding us information so we can just make sure we're really maximizing our customer service around this. Inventory history here as well. We drill through to individual purchase orders, returns, and sales orders as to what's going on in each of the locations. And obviously, you only get seal locations if you've got permissions to do it within your user role. So, purchasing history, which is a similar view here, really. So we've got these 4 POs that are pending receipt. And then some sales analytics. So again, one of these different reporting tools that come standard with NetSuite, but we can see here the sort of seasonality around this product at sort of Christmas time, and then again in the summer, if it's, I don't know, the kids go on a holiday, everyone buys monitors to keep them quiet, who knows? But we've got having that reporting coming through on that item 360 dashboard is really good. So mobile. So NetSuite has a a WMS system, warehouse management system, as a module. You can buy. It's core to the product, so you can run your warehouse via sort of rugged mobile devices. So look at some of the things we can do with that. So in terms of stock coming in, we can be receiving purchase orders. Look at transfer orders if we're moving inventory between different locations or subsidiaries. Put away inbound shipments, handling returns, and item receipts coming in. So doing all that from mobile devices that sit on the Wi-Fi and interact with NetSuite in real time. So the rest of the users of NetSuite can see exactly what's going on in the warehouse in real time. From fulfillment, a single order picking, multi-order picking. So NetSuite will lead you around the warehouse, guiding your picking in the most efficient way and helping you fulfill your sales orders. And then we've got cycle counting. I mentioned this briefly earlier, but rather than having to do a whole stock count across the whole warehouse, we can say, right, we're just going to do this one item, the Stanley socks here, and then go and count that item and book that via the handheld. And NetSuite's intelligent enough to see there's transactions going on for this item at this point. If somebody else wants to come and pick some, or there's receipts coming in, and it will help you manage those situations as well while you're doing that cycle counting. Bin management, similar to Business Central, really, we support bins through the warehouse. And then we've got this sort of control tower dashboard looking at supply chain management now. And here, similar sort of dashboard, really interesting. We're looking at sort of vendor performance here as well. So how many POs are we raising, how many are we receiving, and how many vendor returns are happening. But I think the thing to focus on here is this predictive risk. So it's this NetSuite looking at our whole supply chain and saying, hang on, there's a problem here. We've got a couple of late purchase orders. And if I just click and drill into that, we can see that Crown Equipment Corps have got 2 orders, one here, that NetSuite saying that they're 2 days late. We're 90% confident that these are late. We need to do something about this, so we can get in contact with Crown and just sort of chase this down really and make sure that those come in. So it's good that the system's given us those actionable insights into what's going on in our supply chain. Okay, so that's me, Jason. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Mark and Gary, for that. That's very informative. I think what's key to point out that we're really just scratching the surface in this short webinar of the capabilities within these areas of both systems. So I think, as Gary mentioned, first of all, please reach out to us if you want any more information. But just to summarize, if we look at Oracle, for example, better stock visibility across subsidiaries and locations, particularly internationally, an in-depth inbuilt CRM, which is part of the system, and native WMS. I think those are the key areas that we summarise here. From a Business Central point of view, a lower investment level, and probably even so when you look at the other areas that you would have to bolt on, such as WMS. Stronger in this area we've discussed is often linked to the manufacturing, and some of you may come from that background. So Business Central is certainly, in our opinion, stronger from a manufacturing element. And then you've got the integration with the Microsoft suite, such as Teams. So how to get started with your migration. So a little bit about, Adam went into a little bit about us first of all. I know there's some people here that are speaking to us for the first time. We are, as he said, we're the only partners that are offering Business Central and NetSuite. So it's an impartial look at the 2 most popular systems. There are organizations that are on this call now that come from a similar background for us, with a really understanding GP as well as the other systems. So we've been involved in multiple migrations of this type, and we'll save you time because we are working with these 2 very popular systems in dealing with multiple partners, and we have large team of qualified consultants, but that's in both areas. So these are independent teams that right away across from support, consultancy and development for Microsoft and for NetSuite. and there is a dedicated project management team to handle these migrations from start to finish. So what's next? What can we do to make this easier? It's really getting into the devil in the detail now, and we would look at doing a 2 days pre-sales consultancy where we will go into get into the detail with key stakeholders, and then produce a demo which is going to be worthy of what you would expect to see, and then from there come up with an estimate and a statement of works. The licenses are up to 40% discounted, and a lot of you will already have Nolan products if you're already customers. Particularly, we've started moving those over now from GP into Business Central. We have our procurement system request and advanced bank rec that we would look at trade-in offers on those products within the new system. So that's it from us.
Thanks again, and it has been recorded, so we'll send these out. So if you want to share these with anyone else in the business, you can do that. And as I said, please reach out, even if it's just to suggest a topic for a webinar you'd like to see, as we're doing these monthly. So we hope you've enjoyed this one, and we'll hope to see you on the next one. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.